Ever heard of a rivalry so intense it spanned over a century and decided the fate of the entire Western world? I'm talking about the epic clash between two ancient superpowers, Rome and Carthage. This wasn't just one war. It was a series of 3 brutal conflicts known as the Punic Wars, and they are packed with more drama, genius, and sheer willpower than any movie you've ever seen. So grab your popcorn, because we're diving into one of history's greatest showdowns. It all kicked off in 264 BCE with the First Punic War. The main prize, the beautiful and strategic island of Sicily. At the time, Carthage was the undisputed queen of the sea. Their navy was legendary. Rome, on the other hand, was a land-based powerhouse. They had incredible legions, but on the water, they were basically beginners. You'd think that would be the end of the story, right? Wrong. This is where Roman ingenuity shines. They knew they couldn't outsail the Carthaginians, so they decided to change the game. They captured a Carthaginian warship, reverse engineered it, and built their own fleet. But they added a secret weapon, the corvus or the crow. This was a massive, spiked boarding bridge that would slam down onto an enemy ship, locking the 2 vessels together. Suddenly, a naval battle turned into a land battle on the sea, where Roman legionaries could do what they did best. It was a brilliant and brutal innovation. After more than 2 decades of grueling warfare, Rome emerged victorious. They took Sicily as their very first overseas province and forced Carthage to pay a massive war indemnity. Round 1 went to Rome, but Carthage was far from finished. This brings us to the Second Punic War, which began in 218 BCE. And if you know one name from this conflict, it's Hannibal Barca. Hannibal was a Carthaginian general, a military genius, and he had sworn a lifelong oath to hate Rome. He decided to do the unthinkable. Instead of attacking Rome by sea, he would march his army, including his famous war elephants, from Spain over the treacherous Alps and directly into Italy. This journey alone is one of the most legendary feats in military history. Many men and elephants were lost to the cold and harsh terrain, but Hannibal succeeded. He descended into Italy like an avenging storm, and for years, he terrorized the Romans on their own turf. His masterpiece was the Battle of Cannae in 216 BCE. Using a brilliant tactical encirclement, Hannibal's smaller army absolutely annihilated a much larger Roman force. It was one of the worst defeats Rome ever suffered. The city was in a state of panic. It seemed like Hannibal was unstoppable. But here's what makes Rome, Rome. They bent, but they did not break. Instead of facing Hannibal in another pitched battle, they adopted a strategy of delay and harassment, wearing his army down over time. Meanwhile, a new Roman general rose to prominence. Publius Cornelius Scipio was as brilliant as Hannibal, and he realized the best way to beat him was not to fight him in Italy, but to take the war back to Carthage. Scipio invaded North Africa, forcing Carthage to recall Hannibal to defend his homeland. The 2 legendary generals finally met face to face at the Battle of Zama in 202 BCE, in a dramatic reversal of fortunes. Scipio used Hannibal's own tactics against him and secured a decisive victory for Rome. Hannibal was defeated. Carthage was forced to give up its territories in Spain, destroy its navy, and pay another crippling indemnity. Rome had survived its darkest hour and emerged stronger than ever. You'd think after 2 devastating wars, that would be it. But for some in Rome, the very existence of Carthage was a threat. One senator, Cato the Elder, famously ended every speech he gave, no matter the topic, with T words, Carthago delinda, ist Carthage, must be destroyed. This constant fear-mongering eventually led to the Third Punic War in 149 BC. This final war wasn't much of a contest. It was more of an execution. Rome laid siege to a much weakened Carthage. After a heroic but doomed defense, the city fell in 146 BCE. What happened next was horrific. The Romans systematically destroyed the city, burning it to the ground. The survivors were sold into slavery. The legend says they even sowed the fields with salt so that nothing would ever grow there again. Carthage, the once mighty trading empire, was wiped from the face of the earth. With their greatest rival gone, Rome was the unchallenged master of the Mediterranean. The Punic Wars transformed Rome from a regional Italian power into a sprawling empire. They tested Rome's resilience, showcased its military adaptability, and ultimately set it on the path to dominating the ancient world for centuries to come. It's a powerful story of ambition, genius, and the brutal cost of victory. Thanks so much for watching this deep dive into the Punic Wars. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic history stories. Let me know in the comments which historical rivalry you'd like to see covered next. See you in the next video.